actively logging everything that you have, and then you are able to like give it to your mentor, like literally making the work easy for your mentor. And then it's just like really guiding you on what to do and how to go about it, which is really, really awesome. Like I could remember about mine too then. I also had like a lot of things I was applying for, and just like you also, the least thing was having to do a master's in mathematical science because I'm coming from an engineering background. I really want to do engineering, but in AI. So it was also at the bottom of what I wanted to do. But anyways, it just happened to be that yeah, it's really fun. And I applied, and for my application, it was quite hectic. Yeah. In the sense that I think the process of application was meant to really distract people or to bring people down, because why would I want to apply for something and then I'm really, really solving some crazy mathematics? As much as I'm doing AI here at Ames, it's still a mathematical science degree. So you are really going to do a lot of maths. So in the application process, it was a whole lot of mathematics and then trying to find solutions to mostly mathematics. And then I'm in my head, I'm like, I just want to do AI. So yeah, so I think it can be hectic too, and it's really fun. So I see applying for scholarship as if sort of fun process. It's like a job, applying for jobs too. Thank you very much, Busola, for sharing your experience with us. So I'll go to Ibukun. So Ibukun, thank you for joining us once again. You've you've had a degree in engineering for undergrad. You have a degree in computer science for your master's. Now you are in a PhD program. What is it like applying for a PhD funding? And what was it like applying for a master's funding? Do you find any difference in like applying for the two of them? Was it that the same way it was for the master's was also the same way it was for the PhD, or you had to go through a whole different process getting the PhD? And we just really want to understand how the factors that go into applying for these programs, although they are like both grad programs. So we really want to know about what's like. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. First and foremost, I think I need to appreciate everybody on this call, the ML Lagos people. Thanks for inviting me. And also, of course, like I literally know every single person on this picture. Like I know Busola since like forever, and our sister and I were classmates back in school and all of those things. So it's so nice to see her like doing amazingly well. And Joshua, I've known him for like the longest time. Like so, it's like I'm home right now because I'm seeing all my people here and also people like also who are here with us. Thank you so much for having us. So yeah, I mean, there's a big difference between the MSc one. For the MSc one, it looks to me like I just scrolled. What's the word? I just scrolled through getting in my MSc program. I didn't really have to like stress myself that much. In fact, my first application for my MSc was rejected. I got like rejection letter from them, and after like a few days, I got like an email that maybe I could try. And I mean, it's just how funny how that worked. And also, I didn't plan to go and do my MSc in Morocco. Like, that was the least of my goals. I didn't want to go to Morocco. That wasn't where I wanted to go to. I wanted to go to the US like everybody else. Like, but then like sometimes you also don't have to know what your profile at that point can go to, right? Even of course, like you don't want to like shoot your shot too low. You want to aim as high as possible, but also you need to be realistic, right? But right now, probably I won't. I mean, there's not really hard fast route all of these things, right? Try as much as possible, but also like apply to a lot of different places as you can. So for my MSc, that was quite a walk in the park, to be honest. Like, of course, I had to like do like exams, interviews. I had to like meet panel people and speak with them, but that was not very difficult. But getting a PhD was difficult for me. Nah, that one was difficult for me. That was difficult. I so for my MSc program, I didn't put a lot of strength and a lot of thinking, and but for the PhD I had to, because PhD is more centralized, like they're paying you more money, there are few positions, so I had to like think differently, learn like she said, like follow guys who are doing these things, and also I Stephen is my friend, you guys may know him, who was quite very helpful. And there was time he also like asked me to check there's this CSSOPs where the best guys that got into Harvard, Yale, and Princeton, they had all their SOPs right there. And when I read all these SOPs, and I'm like, okay, now I see why I'm not getting anything right. Like those guys were in the world of their own, right? Seeing how they write, what they wrote, I knew that okay, no way I could compete with these guys where I was writing before. So
Mm.
but then once I was done my MSc, I had the profile. Like I knew I could compete anywhere in the world. But that's not enough, right? I still needed to like create my experience, create what I've gotten to be able to like be competitive enough. So I was getting several interviews around the world, but I wasn't still getting in, right. I'm in Switzerland, different countries, Europe, in the US also, but I wasn't still getting in. So the PhD one was a bit longer, I think about 6 months of like back and forth. But again, eventually I was able to, after refining my SOP with the world standard of what I see people doing. And again, like looking back now, I don't really think those guys in Harvard and Yale are literally any much smarter. But again, I guess they have more information, right? Which I didn't have at that point in time. They had more information. Some of them are truly sincerely good. Like some of them had done internships in Google. They had told people with Google. So like some of them are really very good. But then again, those guys had more information. They had more funding, and so it was very hard to compete. But seeing how, again, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room, right? But just watch what the smart guys are doing. Like once I can watch what they are doing, I can replicate what they are doing. And I think that was really very helpful for me. Like just seeing the smartest guys in the world, how they're doing it, and just like copying them verbatim. I mean, and that worked for me so well.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. Um, yeah, I don't think we should be afraid at this point, right? Just what he majorly mentioned was like applying for a PhD was a really different ball game for him. Like, which I really understand because I also have my personal experience applying for PhDs. Also, quite recently, I've been also applying for some PhD opportunity, and yeah, it can be quite tough. I don't think anyone would want to do a PhD with his or her own funding, in the sense that you are paying for your school fees yourself. You are also like paying for funding your research yourself. You would actually need a lot more funding, which is what makes it very, very much competitive. Um, Ibukun would love to know. We've been seeing some sort of things whenever we go to like a PhD application websites, you'd see things like TAs, teaching assistants, research assistants. How do they relate to these funding opportunities? Is it like they come as a pack, or is it a full package, or is it something you can do by the side, or is it something you can just choose not to do? Like, do as a PhD student, do I have to be a TA? Do I have to be a teaching assistant or research assistant? And how does it really, really work with the funding of a thing?
Okay, I mean that's a very good one. So I feel like it works like differently in different countries, right? So if you're in the US, it's a bit different. I think the US works basically around TA and RA, right? So TA means that you have to teach, right? And then I guess they pay you by teaching classes. teaching like MSc undergrads, then also in like RAMs that you're doing research and being paid for your research. But in Europe, it's a bit different where I am right now. Like right now, I'm on a fellowship, so I don't have to teach, right? But my other
Okay.
colleagues have to teach, right? And if you don't teach, they get paid lesser, like lower salary than my own salary. So it depends on what country you are. So in Europe, you don't have to teach by force, and because Europe basically treats PhDs as like a full-time job where you work and you get paid.
Mm.
So teaching would mean that you get more salary and you can choose not to teach and they remove the salary for that. But for me, in my own case,
Oh,
I'm not teaching. So you don't again, if you're applying for grad school, I think that might be the least of your worries. I mean, yeah, you want to look into all of those things, but I think once you know that they give funding, then I think apply to that funding, right? I don't think you want to care about if the RA or TA. Maybe if you care about teaching and research, but then I think what if they are giving you funding, I think you want to go to where you're being funded. If it's a TA, of course you would do it, and if you're Harry, of course you would do it. So but then that's how it works. Like it works differently in different countries. In Europe, it works differently because you don't have to teach. If you teach, fine. If you don't teach, that's also fine. Also, just
oh, awesome. Yeah, thank you very much for that. So I'll come back to Usola. Yeah, I really want to understand something, and I think it's also on the mind of others that down in the meeting. Do you think applying for scholarship, do you think it's a numbers game in the sense that I have to cast my nets, hoping that I would pick one or two fish or something? Or do you think it's like a very specific process that I really target and I just take my shot at it? We just really want to understand whether like we should just apply to a whole lot of opportunities, or we should really focus on the ones that align with what we want to do and that has the type of funding that we want. And we also want you to like walk us through for your own MPhil program at Cambridge. What was the application like? Like, what did they ask for? You mentioned that you got help from the African community, but I think that was for Oxford, if I'm not mistaken. Did you
Um,
also use the knowledge from that to also, apply for Cambridge? Yeah. So we just really want to know about that.
all right. Okay. So the first question was around, is it a numbers game? And like you said, there's no, I think you currently said something about how there's no like fixed way to go about things. But I will say that you need to first of all look at fit. What aligns with you first of all? If you find a lot that aligns with you, then go. But I think if you spend your time and energy applying to places that actually are not aligned with you, I mean, you could
Mm,
say, okay, maybe, chance, stress, and all of that. But the thing is, what you would do is instead of you to focus all your energy and in trying to make the ones that fit you really good, because scholarship applications are actually not easy. You spend a lot of time reviewing your essays, asking for feedback, telling someone, please can you look through my essay, reaching out to people, all those things. Imagine now spending all that time and you're trying to spread yourself thin on things that are not even aligned with you. So I won't say it's not a numbers game. I would say if you have the capacity to apply to a lot, please do. But please ensure that as you do, like ensure fit and alignment. So it's not like you're just spreading yourself thin for no good reason. So that's what I would say.
mm,
So in my case, what I did was I was really focused on like fit. First of all, so for me at Cambridge, the funding I'm on is a Mastercard one for Cambridge. And initially I didn't even think I was a fit, to be honest. And because of that, now this is my personal like journey now. So like I said, there is no hard and fast rule. You can say, okay, I'm going to try to apply as much as I can. But remember that you don't want to spread yourself too thin that each application then ends up being subpar. You want to deliver like really quality application. And if that means focus, it's better than spreading yourself thin. That's what I would say.
mm.
So yes, for
Awesome.
my Cambridge application, for the one at Cambridge, the Mastercard one. So the way that it's structured is it's kind of a part of, as you're submitting your application to your course, you tick like funding options. So there are different funding options that you'd see on the portal, and then you'd see like the different ones that you can apply to. So there are many. If anyone here wants to apply to Cambridge, once you start your application, you would see like the different ones. And it's not depending on the course and where you are from. So there are some that are open to Africans, so there are some that are open to Asians, there are some that are open to everyone. You just take the one you want. So for Mastercard, I had to I think I had to write an essay. I think for Oxford you also have to do an interview. For Cambridge, I didn't have to do an interview. But for my course at Cambridge for the machine learning, I had to do a technical interview. So after I submitted my application, I then had to do a technical interview, for which I think this is also where like reaching out to people also helps, because sometimes you need people to like prep for interviews with you and all of that. I remember I had someone who had gone through the program who was very kind to help me prep to the interview, review my slides and everything like that. Say, oh, yo, remove this thing from your slides and all of that. And then so after I had the technical interview, and then I submitted like I said, the funding application and the course application, they were together. So I just submitted them once, and then, but the nature of like Cambridge, and I don't know if this is also the same with other universities in the UK. Once you first get your admission before you get your funding, so you get the admission first, and then you're like, so what's going to happen? And they keep you, in suspense, and then after some time, you now hear back like, oh, funding, you got this funding, whatever. So I'll stop here in case you have a follow-up question, or if I didn't touch anything specifically, please.
Oh, okay. I think there is one thing that is not clear. You mentioned when you were applying for Cambridge, in the funding section, you selected Mastercard. Did you have to also apply for Mastercard, like on a separate probably portal or something?
Okay, so I believe that Mastercard operates differently across different universities. For Cambridge, it's the same portal. So when you when you select Mastercard, then they will show you like, okay, you need to provide XYZ. You need to provide, maybe an essay, an extra referee, this one, that one. And it's the same with other scholarships when you're applying to. This is how Cambridge portal works. You get, so once you tick a funding, then they will let you see all the requirements. You need to submit an extra document, you need to submit this, you need to write a proposal, you need to do this, that, and all of that. So depending on the funding you pick, you will submit something. But for Mastercard Cambridge, it was an essay.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. I think I'll jump to Ibukun next. Yeah, so Ibukun, I have a question for you. So this, to a certain degree, is on a personal level, because scrolling through LinkedIn or like updates WhatsApp group, you tend to see a lot of opportunity. Oh, this person is looking for someone in this role. This person is looking for someone in this role. So there's like quite a lot of things popping up. How do you run through all of that to determine this is what I'm going to apply for, this I'm not going to apply for this, aside from like, oh, if you're a good fit for it? So you may be a good fit, or you are really looking at LLMs, right, as a research area. You can see a lot of opportunities, a lot of call for applications as regards LLM with different funding. How do you go about, filtering what you're going to apply for, what you're going to like review for maybe later application? So we just want to understand, as much as we want to apply for a lot of opportunities to get the best, how do we filter which one to apply for? So it's not like we're just wasting efforts applying for a lot of things.
Yes, thank you for that. I'm trying to like write my answers down. I have like a lot of things coming to my mind, so I won't miss my point. So like you said, last said, yeah, I think fit is the first thing, because no matter how fit is like the first thing you have to look at, to be fair, like, because no matter how much you shoot your shot, if there's no alignment between where you're going to and where you're coming from, nobody would employ you, because the best proof of your success in the future is what you've done in the past, right? And I
Mhm.
think it's a single time that you can't tell me that you want a PhD and then you haven't really done anything in the past that shows that you want a PhD. Like that, there has to be some kind of proof, like what shows that you've, or you want to do something around, like, large language models, and your CV has nothing around large language models, not even a single course on LLM or something. I mean, that shows that you probably be wasting your time. So I think fit is the first thing, right? Like the first thing I would first check if I was going to, like, apply for a PhD, whatever. In And also, you want to check the country also. Some countries are very notorious for poor pay, difficult managers and things like that. So although that might not be a thing, but I think if I do it again, I would probably like think about the country also. For some countries are really very good, like they pay well, they treat you well, and things like that. So you want to look into that. But first and foremost, I think it's the fit that comes first. Then also, I think you want to look at let me see again. Again, it's a game of numbers, right? It's a game of numbers. You have to apply to the one that aligns with you closely, and apply over and over and over and over and over and over again as much as possible. And you want to find a few ones that applies to you. And after, for example, the one I got right now. So I'll tell you a very brief story. So when I saw the position, I saw what the person wanted, and I met about 8/10 of the criteria, maybe 7/10 of criteria. So there was one part I haven't done before in my life. Yeah, maybe not in my life, right? But then, so, and from my past experiences, I've seen how that I've seen how these things work. That people want somebody who had experience in at least that thing before. So when I saw that I haven't done a particular part of what they wanted, I went like I think like a whole week, and I did like a small mini demo about that thing, so I can put it in my CV, right? And that will work like magic, right? So it's a full-time job. So you can't spread yourself thin, like you said, like you have to, like, because if you're everywhere, you're nowhere, right? You have to like find
Mhm.
the align too closely and tweak your CV to say what they want to hear, right? Because eventually you have to be smart about how you package yourself. I think most people are actually very good, but they have poor packaging, right? And if you, even if you're very smart and you package yourself poorly, you won't go anywhere, because these guys want, because it's, for example, like I'm being paid well enough, right? And there, for example, in my interview, I got to know that I was competing with an Indian guy in the final stage, right? And it happened several times. Like I remember I was having one in Switzerland, and I was interviewing, like in the final stage, like five of us, like myself, um, three Europeans and one Indian guy. I'm the only Nigerian. And you before you can get to that stage, they want to trust you that if I give this guy that opportunity, this guy compound the effect? So you want to like tailor your stuff so closely to what they want, and that takes time. Like that takes a lot of time, because most people don't know that for you to have a very good application, it takes time. And that means that you can't apply to every single thing. So you have like start from the fit, then start from, if you like this country or this particular program, then you can begin to narrow it down to, like, tweaking your stuff. So again, I think everything rests on fit. Like, am I the best person for this particular role?
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much, Ibukun, for that. I mean, it reminded me of when I was also applying. I was just applying for a lot of things. It's quite funny because I mean, I would see these and I would apply. I could remember then I was applying to Yale, I was applying to Cambridge, PhD from an undergrad. I was applying to a whole lot of things, which is quite funny. But coming to a master's program here at Ames has really, really, exposed me to how things work. And then I also see that, oh, if I was really a selection committee, I won't pick me at that point in time because they are about to give you a life-changing opportunity. They're about to give you money. They're about to get sponsored. how would the person funding you, what would they get? You made mention of something about a compounding return, because like I'm giving you money, I really need to get like good research out of it, which is really important. So thank you very much for that piece of advice.
Can I add something before
I'll,
you go ahead? Can I add something? Can I add
okay.
something? So
Yeah, sure.
let me say that if I didn't done my MSc in Morocco, I'll probably not be in Denmark today, right? There's a
Mhm.
direct link between those two things. Doing my MSc in Morocco made me meet like people from the US, then wrote me like letter of recommendation, like and so when I was applying for a PhD, I was in a better place. Like I had published a paper because, and again, I did my MSc again because I think this is very important, like this particular kind of program, because people need to know that beyond just applying, you want to be prepared, right? You want to be prepared to apply, because even if you are applying and you're not good enough, you will still get in, right? So during my MSc program, I knew that I was going for a PhD, and I'd published a paper during my master's program. Like I finished
Mhm.
my program in September 2024, and I submitted my paper like by I think by November, right? So that also really helps me to apply for a PhD program. So I was in a better place to like fight and fight fairly. So if they see my CV, they don't just like throw it in and say, which this guy from Nigeria? Like they'll be like, okay. Maybe this guy has potential. Let's give him a chance, right? So yeah,
Yeah. Oh wow, thank you very much. So I'll come to Busola. Busola, what would you have done differently? I think Ibukun mentioned that if he was going to apply again, he would have looked at the country. For you, what would you have done differently if you were to apply again? Or what do you see people doing in that is like wrong and might not give them the opportunity that they want and can be easily avoidable?
All right. So, and just to add to something that was said before, what was just spoken about, I think if you mentioned something about presenting yourself very well, and that's where I'm going to start from. So I see, like, I think you mentioned it as well, that a lot of people are actually very talented, like they have what it takes, but that gap between having what it takes and them seeing that you have what it takes, I feel like that's the gap that many
Mm.
people, and I think I was also in that position as well. So I knew that, okay, I had the passion, I had the drive, I was hungry for success, quote unquote. And I wanted to go to grad school, I wanted to learn more, I wanted to do more in ML, but I just could not connect the dots. Like, what do I need to tell these people to help them see that I have? Because it's not just about grades, it's not just about saying, oh, I was top of my class. Like, you can't just go to them and tell them. Do you know the funny thing? For a lot of, like, when I got to Cambridge, they let us know, like, it's not about grades. I mean, obviously it helps, but for a lot of people who are, for example, in the Mastercard Foundation Scholars Program that I'm also on, I've seen so many people who, some didn't even have a first class, but when you look at what they've done, if you see the way they carry themselves, if you see the way they present themselves, even you will be convinced that, yeah, you are the you are the person for whatever position is available. And they don't stop, like they keep going, like they've been, I think one thing, first of all, for me, that I had, I don't even know if it's called imposter syndrome, but I was like, I don't think I should apply for this. This is not for me. Da, 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 da. So first of all, you need to believe in yourself. Before anybody else can believe in you, you need to believe in yourself. You need to, I mean, obviously be realistic. I feel like another thing about rejection is that I think it's information. It's not necessarily like, oh, don't take rejections like, oh, life is over, you know, I'm not good enough, I'm the worst person in the world. Just like I think Ibukun already mentioned, he said something about how sometimes you are just not the person that's suited for that opportunity yet. And he mentioned something about how, like, imagine if you had gone from before his MSc straight to that PhD, like the gap would have been very, very, very wide. But like after going through his MSc program, it was much more suited. He had met more people, he had more exposure. And the thing is, in the present, we always think that we have all the exposure we need to, get to where we need. But looking back now, you realize that looking back after some time, you realize that you actually don't know enough. So back to that point, I think the major gap that a lot of people have is learning how to present what you've done, especially after you've already put in so much effort. I know a lot of people on this call here. Being on this call is also part of, I'm sure, effort for some people. Trying to understand what does it take and all of that. So I will go back to the first thing I said. I believe in I won't say mentorship, I believe in gathering as much information as you can. It's in very
Mm.
simple things. Like I said earlier, curate your social media, curate your LinkedIn, curate your Twitter. Be saying the things that you want to do. That's how you gather information.
Mm.
Because another thing is sometimes we want to like reach out to people and say, please dedicate your time to me and come and mentor me on this journey. And the truth is, I've been heard so many times, people actually don't have time. And you don't have to take it like personally. Do you get? Recognize that people are actually busy. So you need to stop taking that person. For example, if you reach out to people and they don't, get back to you or whatever it is, don't take it personally. If there are other ways that you can find out more about them, their personal websites, the work that they've done, the research that they've done, look at it, look through their LinkedIn, look through the trajectory that they took. I mean, that won't give you like perfect information, but it will, by the time you do it across several people, you start to see some patterns that, okay, this person said
Mm.
this person said that, and all of that. So that's one. And then another thing, if possible, I think the best one is still having someone, like reaching out to someone and having someone, um give you some information. In case anybody's lost in what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is, presenting that gap between presenting yourself and what you have. Well, believe that you have what it takes, especially if you've already put in the work, and then trying to close that gap to let them see you as who you really are, what you've really done, and the potential that you actually have. Sometimes you need people. You need to open your mind. You need to see what people are doing, because sometimes you find that you probably have even done much more. You put in so much more effort than people that are there. But what did they do differently? They presented themselves well. The application documents were proper. They knew what to write. And just like Ibukun said again, I keep going back my husband. Like he said,
Mm.
through various SOPs that people at top universities have done. So look at what the best people are doing, and then try to see, okay, where am I? What can I do like those guys? And that's why I feel like LinkedIn is such a powerful place, because for me, it just helps me see a lot of people. So I'm like, oh, interesting. Especially when I see people, for example, that come from Nigeria and are doing like all these really good things, or people from Africa as well. I'm like, okay, so they did this, they did this, they did it. If I can do what they did, I will try. But I will also say, don't fall into the trap of trying to replicate someone's exact journey. I think that's quite impossible. So you don't put yourself under unnecessary pressure. Recognize that everybody's journey is very unique. But whatever you can glean from them, please do. To bring
Um,
everything back, not to confuse everyone. All I'm just trying to explain is just like ways to close the gap between where you are and how you want them to see you. Reaching out to people, exposing your mind, curating your social media, just learning as much as you can and using that to tweak your profile. Tweak your profile. Obviously, the best is having someone to help you. If you can, please do. Don't take rejections or airing personally. If they don't respond to you, keep reaching out to people. Somebody might eventually respond. And that might just be the difference between you and getting like what you need. So yes.
awesome. Awesome. Am I the only one feeling like there are a lot of fireworks dropping from both Ibukun and Busola? Because she just said one now that we should take rejection as information. When she said it, I was like, okay, another perspective, because I've been getting a lot of information lately. Back to Ibukun. I think first I'm able to really relate with both of our panelists, because a lot of what they mentioned, or a lot of what they are saying, it's something I've also been through myself, because I could still remember when I was also applying. There are a lot of I had a cousin. He was in the US. He was currently doing his masters then. And then I kept on telling him that I've been applying, I'm not getting in. I've just been getting a lot of information, if you understand what I'm saying. And then he's just telling me that really, why? Like he felt that um there is not that much difference between what I have and what others that are actually getting into those programs, what they have. So then he asked for my CV and all of my documents. And then I sent it to him. And then he's saying, oh, no, you can't write it this way. This is how you're supposed to do it. This and that is how you should like package yourself well. So what's Ibukun and Busola said about being able to present what you've done in a very suitable way for what you want to get. So that's really, really important. So yeah, thank you for that. Ibukun, I want to ask you a question before we start to take questions from our audience. For you also coming from like Nigeria and competing with people from around the world, what do you think can be done differently, or what do you think you would have done differently in terms of your application, your write-up, your essays, and every of those things that would have placed you in a much more better position? I know you mentioned your masters. Are there any other things that you'd have done in a much more better way?
I mean, now I'm in, so I don't know where I've done much more better. but but I mean, if you ask me what I did, I could tell you a million that I did, because to be fair with you, I did a lot of things.
Hmm.
Which if you allow me, I want to share with you guys something quickly. Can I share my screen? Is it okay?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Okay. Um, sorry. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, this is my SOP, right? And look at
Wow.
how it looks. Just the feel of it, right, is quite very different from most people's SOP, because of the fact that I learned from the very best how to do it. Again, right? Like for me to get to this point, most people don't even know that you can write SOP this way. And the first part was what sets me apart, right? And I wasn't telling them I grew up from the slums in Nigeria. I was telling them I'm that guy. I'm the best for this job. If you don't pick me, you're finished. That kind of thing, yeah. And because again, as you can see, right, the first thing I said was, I've authored two papers, I've gotten this amount of scholarship, I've been to this country to present in Italy, Germany, Morocco, Ghana, Nigeria. Yeah, this thing looks very, 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 very big, big things, but it's just things that I have to think about, I've done in my whole life, and I put them all together. I was saying that if I'm looking for a PhD, like the last sentence, if you can see, if I'm looking for a PhD candidate who doesn't just theorize, but this, body investment. And again, so that was like the first part. The second part about my research, right? After I've bragged about why I'm different from other candidates, why I'm going to beat their daddy, right? Then afterwards, I'll talk about my own research, like why when I've done this. And of course, I wasn't just bragging. I was telling them the real. I was telling them like I've really done these things, right? So if you check, I've done these things. So this is why I'm the best for this job. And also, I saw that most guys who were in CS, they had like portfolio websites, right? He had, and also like, so this guy, so again, like these guys have been doing so much more, right? I didn't know about, but let's say like looking deep into it. And also, I God bless Stephen again. Stephen Kolawole has his website, he has his SOP online. I read that SOP multiple times. I kid you guys, I read that SOP over and over and over and over and over and over again, because you might read my SOP like this. I might think you know what I've written, but I guarantee you don't until you study every single line, every single paragraph, and like see, okay, what was the reason behind this whole thing, right? So again, I'm saying that it took me a long time to get to this point because I didn't have like mentors, like you said. And which, of course, if you have people to hold your hands, which you won't usually get because they're also very busy. Because if you come to me and say mentor me, I don't know, even myself, I'm still even with myself, I'm still fighting for my life because I want to get better, right? If you stay in one place, you won't grow, right? So people come to say, please, I'm like, even me myself. So I mean, this was a game changer for me. Let me see if I can scroll down quickly. And some of you are screen grabbing my I don't know if I can scroll down. Sorry, give me a second. Allow this time. Just to show you guys something, right? I didn't know that you could have pictures to your SOP. I didn't know that until I saw these guys in Harvard. Like, I'm like, oh, we didn't tell us this thing, no. Because I see, again, if you don't know these things, like, you just feel like everybody is doing the same thing. But that's not true, right? People know things that you don't know because they are more experienced. So when I saw them, I'm like, okay, I know Wala now. You would think I can, these things I can do it to can play this game. So I went back, you know, I had to like redact my SOP, you know, had to put pictures, like, and this pictures like showing that, for example, this output, this picture C and D, I just learned this thing before I applied. It's not as if I've known it like all my life, right? I have to like, you know, work on this like a week before I applied because my advisor was telling me that he needed somebody that knows this thing. And I'm like, okay, why can't I just learn it and add it to my CV? Because sometimes when they say they want A, B, C, and D, and you have A, B, C, then we want crazy guy from India or from China that has A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. So, so you want to really be prepared for them. And I was surprised when I was getting interviews, like, you know, in almost all of these countries, because I knew that I was ready to compete with almost most people. Like by default, me opening my SOP, you feel like there'll be a clear difference between what people had been, so because most guys do something like black and white, you know, blank test, and I put mine in sections, you know, and my father was telling me that, you know, it was like, wow, you're so different. I mean, I'm like, really, I'm different. I didn't know I was different though. So you want to give an impression that you are really phenomenal. For example, this 25K grant was the sum total of all of my MSc scholarship, how much they paid me for house rents and everything. And so now if I want to go for a postdoc also, I'll tell them that I've won millions of whatever it's that I've won for this one. Also again, about what I would do differently. To be fair with you, I feel like I probably won't do anything different right now. But also maybe I did almost everything I could do, to be very honest with you guys. I did code mailing professors around the world, sending code emails every single time. One time I remember I emailed like a whole section. I found all the emails and I told them why I'm the best for the job. Like that was in Sweden. Like they didn't even respond to me. But then it was worth it, right? Because you want to put yourself out there as much as possible. Again, it's a game of numbers. This book I was studying today about Talib, and it was saying that it's all about statistics, right? You can increase your luck, right, by applying as much as possible, right? Because I did a lot of interviews, like best schools around the world, and I'll get to the final stage and they won't pick me for whatever reason. And eventually one clicked, and that was fine. So let me just round off quickly on that. I want to say a few points before I give it back to you, Joshua. So yeah, so talking about like looking at the country, I don't mean to say that Denmark is not like good. Denmark is actually one of the best places to do a PhD in the world, right? Like the Scandinavian countries, Denmark, Norway, Sweden pays the highest for PhDs in the world. So in case you are thinking of the people, they pay more than the US. So yes, so you should come to Denmark for a PhD, right? And again, I wasn't top of my class, both in my bachelor's and my master's. Or like so that I was in top of my class, you know. I wasn't a first class student. Right. So I'm saying to say that please don't get me wrong. If you can make a first class, it helps a lot. I wish I could go back and make a first class, but then I was doing a lot of all kinds of things on campus. So yeah, so if you can make a first class, please do, but you don't have to have a first class to get all of these things, you know, just know what you're doing. Also, yeah, like he was saying, believe in yourself, which I think has like a direct it links up with preparation, right? I was able to apply to this because I knew that I'm going to beat their daddy, right? So and I was, because again I was prepared for this time to come, right? Doing my MSc, I was on my neck of my advisor doing my MSc, and I was like, you know, I see you, sir. I know you want me to work on this project, but I want a paper from this, right? This is what makes sense to me. And because that was the only thing I could compete from guys from all over the world. I mean, there are guys who were coming from the US, coming from, they had, top master's degree program. I went to Morocco. Morocco is still in Africa, right? And somehow these guys don't rate us that much, right? Don't really rate us like, so you want to really show that. So something a paper to a top conference, an A conference in Italy then was like, a game changer for me. Just changed my confidence level that, oh yeah, now I want to like, fight for. So again, so even if you believe in yourself, you also I want to be prepared enough to fight fairly, right? To fight with other guys from all over the world. And also, like I said, I read Steven's SOP. It's on Google, right? I read it over and over and over and over and over again because again, that was really that taught me so much. I was going back to it every single time just to see what did this guy do differently, right? And that was really helpful. So I think if I would sum again what I would do, I think I'll do the same thing over and over again. Sending cold emails should be a part of your life. I feel like it's a full-time job, right? It's a full-time job, like getting it. You can't just do it like you can't just do it as like a part-time thing. Like maybe you just wake up and feel like let me apply today. No, you have to like do it as if you want to get a real job, and that takes a lot of work. And within 6 months of consistency, I think you get something if you really, 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 really put all your effort into it. So I think I'm overspoken at this point.
No, no, thank you very much, Stephen. Yeah, so I think I should also add that I also read Stephen's SOP. Like, when I was applying for AIMS, if you take Stephen's SOP and then you take my SOP, like it pretty much looked alike. The only thing that is different is just the content, the sectioning, the font size, the font style. Everything just looked very, very like alike. Which just goes ahead to show how much like intentionality you really have to put into this thing. Yeah, for those asking for Stephen's SOP, it's just a matter of going online, Stephen Kolawole SOP. I'm sure you're gonna get it. That was how I got it. I didn't reach out to him to ask for his SOP. It's right there online. So yeah, thank you very much, panelists, for sharing your experience with us. So I think we should go to questions now. We're going to take questions now. And you can just raise your hand if you have a question you want to ask our panelists. I know that we have like a lot of things that we could possibly ask. Yeah, but like, you just need to stay within the time frame that we currently have. So if you have any questions or you're too shy to like maybe to maybe unmute yourself, you can just raise your hand. So we can just take questions now. Or you can also drop it in the chat too, and then I'll read them out. Okay. Do we have any questions? Okay, yeah, I can see someone Afsna. Yeah, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Afsa. Yeah, Ivan.
Good afternoon, and thank you to the moderator and the speakers for this session. Like I've learned a lot. I was wondering, so when you're trying to position yourself for the funding, so sometimes, yes, I mean I understand there's a need to be consistent, but we're trying to position yourself for funding. So maybe the school has probably like the schools are already giving admission, but for the like based on the recipe that's been submitted, but you're trying to position yourself for funding, especially funding that is even coming from Nigeria or that's supporting African students. So do you think from your experience and from people you've spoken to that it's always good to position your purpose in terms of wanting to solve problems in Nigeria, like making it specific to Nigeria and Africa, or do you think it's okay, it's best to actually spread it around as a global solution? Like you have people to solve that problem globally. Actually, when the problem is even tied more to Africa here.
Yeah, would anyone Ibukun or Busala,
Yeah,
would you like to help answer that?
I can answer that. So I think it depends on the program you're applying for. Some programs are really about you coming back to Africa, like to impact Africa, right? So in that case, you want to state your SOP that you want to come back and impact Africa, right? Some programs don't care, right? Just want to like do research And if you're passionate about impacting Africa, then go ahead and impact Africa in your SOP, right? But I think overall, if they don't care, like you want to show passion and you want to show proof of concept that in the past you've done this thing in the past, because that's the only way that we can do it in the future, right? So I don't think again it's a two-case thing. The first case, if the program is about it's about impacting Africa, then by all means try to impact Africa in your SOP, right? Even though we're all lying, right? But take for another case. But again, in most cases, I think most programs don't even care about, for example, in my own SOP, I never plan to impact Africa. I want to impact the world, right? I want to impact the entire world. Again, okay, now I'm digressing, but I'll still digress. I never knew how much easy that we can impact the world, right? I was thinking like the distance thing like got here. But I saw that actually can impact the world truly. It could make things that will impact the world. So again, it's about you, about the program. Look at what they want and follow their instructions. But like my own
Mhm.
program, they didn't care about where I want to impact. So I just like say I want to impact the world, of course.
Thank you very much, Ibukun. I can see Stephanie. Stephanie, can you unmute yourself and ask a question?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. Thank you everyone for this, session. I really, learned a lot. So my question is for Bukola. I just want to know. She was talking a lot about people reaching out to people to help her check her essays and mentor her and stuff like that. Who are the people exactly? Were they students, teachers, staff? Is there anybody that we should avoid that might, harm our application, in any way?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Um, so that's actually a really good question. So for me, and I think I said this earlier, my starting point was for, okay, if I'm applying to this particular school, who are the people at this school already doing what I'm trying to do? So you start from there. And then, I mostly reached out to students or alumni, like people that were there, people that have done exactly what I'm trying to do, if possible. Those are the people that you should start from. But I would say that don't just limit yourself, because thinking back now, my mentor during that mentorship that I went through wasn't even a technical AI person. Like it wasn't someone who was into like building ML models. It was more like into governance and all of those things. But his insights were still relevant to me. So I would say
Mhm.
that don't limit yourself to just that. I would say that if you have access to even people around you who maybe they're not even in the same school that you're going to, or but if they have a track record of, maybe getting scholarships, funding, all these things, I would say don't also shut them out as well. I also add my friend, because I looked at my friend. I've always considered him as a very wise person, and his insights in my life, I felt like, okay, this guy would have some insightful to say. And I also add in review my essays as well. So don't just limit it to, the best set of people are the people that have done what you're trying to do, period. But then there are people around you that are probably wise as well. And they know a lot as well. And you will be surprised what they will tell you. Like they would show you
Yeah.
things missing, like, oh, you've not mentioned that you did this, you've not mentioned that this one. I don't think I really understand what you're trying to communicate. Things like that that really help. Your family members too can also help. Again, I would say that let it be people you can trust. Let that be your business. Yeah. Do you trust this person's judgment? If you don't trust that person's judgment, please don't try it. Let
All
it be someone
right.
you trust their judgments. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Busola, for that. I think I'll take Honor Jesus before I read one question from the chat. So Honor Jesus, please unmute yourself.
Hi, good day, everyone. Thank you for the session so far. So, I want to ask, anyone could answer really. I want to ask about transitioning. So, I've worked more on low resource NLP for education in Africa, and I have a few papers published on that. But I want to apply for PhD for AI safety, but the current project I am doing on AI safety is also within the low resource space. And I am scared that that will put me on a bad foot because I've just been working within low resource, especially that I'm just transitioning to like the AI safety part and I do not have a published paper yet. Hopefully by when grad school application opens, I have like 1 or 2 papers on AI safety. But I just want to get your advice if like working on low resource is a bad part and if I should actually transition at this stage.
Okay. Anyone want to jump on that? Ibukun, if you are speaking, you are muted.
Yes, maybe I can try to answer that. So I mean, you just have to, I mean, you have some papers right now, and that's like a very strong place to be honest, because right now it looks like grad school is getting so crazy. Unlike before, where people do get in easily without having papers, it's now really crazy. Like, particularly with the advent of large language models, like now your work are getting faster. You can, like, iterate faster. Most of my codes today are not even done by myself, like AI. I just like monitor what it's giving me, so it's easier to like do things very fast. So having papers right now puts you in a very strong spot. And you're saying that right now you're working on AI safety even in low resource. I think it's also like I think you're like set, to be fair. Like, you're really set because you have what most guys never have when they're applying. So we should go for it. In your SOP, try to amplify your current work on AI safety in low resource environment, because that will put you in a better spot. And when they start, you've done some works in the past, then you're even in a stronger place to apply and beat most people, right? So I think you should do that, and you should apply, and let's see. Try to publish your work, the one you're working at the moment. But if you can't, still apply, because you're still in a very strong spot to apply. I mean, when I applied, I only had like one strong paper in ACM, and I had other one in Daba, right? Daba I mean, it's very big in Africa, but not like big globally, right? So, I mean, so you should give it a shot, and you'll be surprised that you might just get in.
All right. So, yeah, thank you very much, Ibukun, for that. I think I'll take one last question before I hand over to Michael. So this question here is from Rufi. So Rufi is he wants to know how someone that's graduated over 10 years ago um and has picked interest in the field of AI and ML, how that person can also approach applying for grad school opportunities. So she said she has worked for 10 years, so she have a lot of work experience. So does work experience really matter in terms of applying for grad school opportunity? So Busola or Ibukun, would you like to like help answer that?
I could just say something briefly, and just based on my experience. So even in my MPhil that I'm currently doing right now, I have classmates who, for example, I think one of my classmates worked. I don't. In fact, she's married and she worked a number of years at at an organization, at a top organization. Yeah, but she said she got tired of working, and she said she just wanted to do ML. I think the major thing that I would say, what I saw from her was just, really knowing exactly what you want to do. I think, and I didn't mention this so far, I would say that one thing that helped me a lot, and that I saw that helped a lot of people around me here, like in school, is that be very clear about why you want to do the program you want to do. Exactly. So for this person who says, like, you want to do, after, an extensive work experience, you want to go into ML. Why do you want to do? Are you doing it because everybody's saying ML? Because if that's why, in your application, they will see through it. Do you get? So I would just say have that clarity and be able to communicate that clarity in your application. I think that would go a long way, because you're even much more better equipped with your work experience to even handle the pressures of grad school than fresh grads and all these things. So if you position yourself, you present your case to them, you would even be like, they would even be willing, supervisors won't be willing to work with you because they know that you're older, you're more mature, you have like, you're different from fresh grads. That's all I'll say. Yeah.
Justice for fresh grads. All right. Thank you very much, Busola.
Can I add to that, please? Can I add to that previous question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So I feel like the ball game might be a bit different if you're going for a PhD, right? Going for a PhD, I think it would be nice for you to like do some projects around AI, ML, just to show that in the past, again, because the best way to predict the future is by looking at your past record. So yeah, 10 years experience is really very nice and it's a good way to start from. And also, you want to like show some stuff around your new interests, right? You need to show, okay, I've done these things, I've done this thing, I've done this small research. You don't have it published. Maybe you read something, you try to implement the whole thing. Just show that you really love this thing, and beyond just word of mouth, like you've gotten your hands dirty with things, and you know. So that would be it should put you in a very stronger spot, and you expect that a very strong one for you because you can use that to like sell yourself a lot. Like 10 years in the field is a lot of time. So I mean, all things are possible to him that believe it. Like I mean, there's literally no limit to what we can do if we don't stop trying. So yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Ibukun. Our time is fast spent. We've overshot our time. So I would like to, appreciate our panelists. Starting from Olubusolami. Thank you for jumping on the call with us. Thank you for sharing your experience. Thank you for also letting us know that should take rejections as information. And to Ibukun, Ibukun, thank you very much for, I know PhD, takes a lot of your time, and I know you also have a lot of things that you're currently doing, but taking this, short period of time to speak to us about opportunities, how to approach them, what we could do differently. It has really changed my mind, and I'm sure for a number of people, about how to apply for scholarships and funding. So thank you very much. And to the organizers of this event, thank you for giving me the opportunity to anchor this event. And I hope you have informed. I've given like through this interaction, a lot of people have gotten more informed and more educated about how to get more more scholarships and funding. So thank you very much. So I'll hand over now to Michael for further announcements.
Okay. Thank you so much, Joshua. Thank you so much for deciding to be part of this event. Thank you also to our speakers as well. Really appreciate all the insights you've shared. If there's anything that I will take away from this event or from this session, even though my notes is already filled right now, is that it is important to kind of reach out to people, especially people that are in a position that you want to be in. So if you want to perhaps go do a PhD in this university, it wouldn't hurt if you like reach out to someone currently in that university and maybe like get a sense of how things can be done or how you can even make your application stand out. So that is one key takeaway that we should have in mind. Okay, so once again, this is Machine Learning Lagos for those joining us for the first time. If you want to join our community, I sent a chat. I sent the link to our website. You can register there, and then you'll be added to our community, so you can receive updates about like events like this that we organize, and also like other things that we do, other events we organize about AI, ML, the technical sessions, and also like our office hours. You can also follow us on Twitter and also like connect with us on LinkedIn at Machine Learning Lagos. So upcoming events, next week we are going to be rounding up our grad school series. we're having the fourth and final um, session of our grad school series. And this one is going to be a very interesting conversation about thriving in grad school. We would have panelists that have um, gone through the grad school process and have excelled and are also doing well to shed more light on how you can kind of like start excelling as you get there. Um, pardon me to use this cliche to hit the ground running. So we are going to have an event on how to thrive in grad school. Also, our June office hours is coming up, as well as a technical session 25th of June. I think that's this week. If you're part of our community, you should also register for our technical session. Also, you can share your feedback about this session. I've sent the link to the chat. Send us a feedback on the things you'd like us to improve on this grad school series, so we can get like what we can improve as a community and maybe improve the session as well. Um, Aside that, thank you very much for joining this call. We really appreciate everyone here taking out time from your Sunday to join us. Um, we really appreciate everyone here. Before you leave, please remember to send us your feedback. The link is in the chat box. Thank you very much, guys. Happy Sunday.